My ex smirked, lips painted blood red, eyes glittering with triumph, then leaned forward and kissed her lawyer. Bold, shameless. A performance meant to crush me in front of strangers. I stood slowly, calm, steady. "Your Honor," I said, voice measured, controlled, "may I present Exhibit Z?" The courtroom stirred, papers rustled. My ex's smirk faltered. The judge's eyes narrowed. I placed the drive on the clerk's desk. A few keystrokes later, the speakers filled with a familiar voice, her voice, breathy, whispering promises of love not to me, but to the man beside her, the same lawyer now pretending composure as sweat bloomed across his collar. The court gasped. "Objection!" he barked, desperation cracking through his polish. "Where did you—" "Overruled," the judge cut him off, leaning forward, hungry for truth. "Continue." The walls closed in, silence pressed heavy, and I finally began to breathe. We were a story people envied, or so I thought. She was fire, and I was the fool who built my life around feeding it. The house, the vacations, the accounts, every decision bent toward her dreams. I mistook her hunger for ambition. I mistook her silence for loyalty. She used to trace circles on my wrist when I worked late nights, whisper that she believed in me. I carried that like scripture, until the night she stopped coming home. The signs came quietly at first. Perfume that wasn't hers lingering in our car, bills that didn't align, a locked phone always face down. Then one evening, as I sat in the darkened living room, she stumbled in, laughing into the glow of her screen. Not my name on her lips, his, the lawyer, her attorney, her friend. The man who had shaken my hand during barbecues, who had once toasted my marriage with a glass of my whiskey. That laugh, it was the sound of the knife twisting. I didn't speak. I didn't confront. Confrontation was for the unprepared. I simply turned the lights off again and let the darkness teach me patience. Pain sharpened me. Betrayal sobered me. I hired no thugs. I swung no fists. Instead, I built a case the way a spider spins a web, thread by thread, invisible until it's too late. I mirrored her phone, bought the same model, cloned the SIM. Her messages flowed into my hands like poisoned wine. I recorded whispers, late-night rendezvous, the sound of her voice saying she'd bleed me dry in court. And then, her lawyer's promises, explicit, damning, illegal. He had crossed every boundary of ethics. He thought their affair was a weapon. He didn't realize I was sharpening it. I waited months, kept my head bowed, signed papers with shaking hands, let them believe they had won before the fight even began. I smiled when they thought I was broken. That was my camouflage. Divorce court, their arena. She arrived dressed for victory, heels like daggers striking the floor. He carried her documents, smug as a kingmaker. They whispered to each other, lovers disguised as professionals, already dividing what was mine. I let them, until the judge spoke the words, "All assets to the wife." And then I stood. Exhibit Z. Her voice played in front of strangers, judges, clerks, reporters. "I don't care what he thinks," she giggled. "By the time I'm done, everything will be mine. You'll get your cut." Then his voice, lower, greedy. "Sleep with me again tonight, and I'll make sure the court bleeds him dry." Gasps rippled like waves. The judge's gavel slammed. "Silence!" But there was no silencing the truth. My ex's face drained to ash. Her lawyer stuttered, his practiced eloquence crumbling into raw panic. "Your Honor, this evidence is—" "Overruled," the judge said, his voice cold steel. He turned to me. "Mr. Hale, do you have more?" "Yes, Your Honor." And I did. Nights of recordings, screenshots, bank statements. Enough to bury them both in ethics violations, fraud, perjury. The judge didn't need to hear it all. One glance at the jury of onlookers, their eyes wide with disgust, was enough. The verdict shifted. Assets froze. A motion to investigate misconduct was filed on the spot. Her lawyer's license dangled by a thread. And she, the woman I once swore to protect, sat there trembling, stripped of her armor, her smirk replaced with the hollow stare of a cornered liar. When the gavel fell the second time, it didn't echo like defeat. It rang like justice. I walked out of that courtroom, not rich, not poor, but clean, freed from her web. She called my name as I passed, voice cracking, desperate. But I didn't stop. Because revenge isn't shouting. Revenge isn't chaos. Revenge is silence. Planned, executed, and undeniable. I gave her everything once. Tonight, I gave her nothing. And nothing was heavier than all the weight in the world.